Chances are, if you are a fan of Call of Duty and you have a compatible phone, you've given Call of Duty Mobile a shot in these past few days. I think it is a game that kind of took everyone by surprise, as obviously mobile gaming is not something that you would typically associate with a Twitch shooter like Call of Duty. But oddly enough, upon its release, COD Mobile had a lot of hype behind it because, frankly, it is a really cool game. It combines the universes of Modern Warfare and Black Ops, so you have situations where Ghost from Modern Warfare is giving you the tutorial instructions on firing range, an iconic Black Ops map. You end up having a mixed variety of both Infinity Ward and Treyarch maps, weapons, and all things of that nature, and in general, Call of Duty Mobile is more like the ideal COD game than anything that we've ever seen before, with the features and options that it has included within it. So today we're breaking down why Call of Duty Mobile is the COD game that, honestly, we've all wanted for quite some time now. However, there are some strings attached that really aren't so ideal. Before we jump into that though, if you guys are new here and you want to stay on top of everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on, that way you'll always know when a new video goes live. And of course, if you enjoyed this one, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated and it does really help the channel out. And now let's get into the world of Call of Duty Mobile and why this is pretty much the ultimate Call of Duty game in a sense. So as I mentioned, COD Mobile is not your average Call of Duty game. Obviously, the biggest difference is the fact that it is only available on mobile or on PC if you end up using an emulator. I will say I did end up trying the emulated version of it, and honestly, I thought the game was pretty easy before I tried it on PC. After playing it on PC though, it was really too easy to a point where it kind of got boring to play. So personally, I do prefer the challenge of actually playing it on mobile, since the controls are not ideal to say the least. In fact, I'll actually throw up some PC emulated gameplay on the screen for a few moments, just to show you guys the unfair advantage that playing on PC gives you compared to using these standard touchscreen controls. Anyways, with this being a mobile game, obviously that levels out the playing field a lot. There's no real extreme advantages outside of that emulator that you can actually get in this game, with maybe the size of your screen being a slight advantage in some cases. Maybe after all, size does matter. Regardless, if you have spent some time on this game, you've probably noticed how much everyone plays kind of like a bot. There's really not much of a skill gap in most cases. It's normally a handful of not so great players, and then maybe one or two solid players who are probably more experienced with mobile gaming in general. So that whole skill gap being pretty non-existent, and the fact that touchscreen controls are really the only option since controller support has in fact been removed from the game, means there's not nearly as many different ways to excel in the game itself. Whereas on console you have 1 millisecond response time monitors, and SCUF controllers, and control freaks, and all things like that. The playing field here is a lot more balanced for the most part. And this is one thing that would not really be evident in a console form of the same game. To jump the gun a little bit here before we circle back to why this game is the ideal Call of Duty, in my mind and in the minds of a lot of other players in the community, the best Call of Duty that we could ever possibly have would be a free-to-play, cross-platform, mashup Call of Duty that has elements from all of the developer studios, that being Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer Games, and if you wanted to include Raven in there as well, why not? So be it. But if such a game were to ever be created and we saw it debut on PC and console, there would probably be that usual skill gap where the more competitive players excel day in and day out, and the newer players are left to be pub stomped. Mobile, though, kind of eliminates that larger skill gap and definitely lessens it by a very large margin. Another element of COD Mobile that makes it the most ideal COD game is the fact that it is free to play. If you have a compatible phone, you can download the game for no cost and enjoy the core game without spending a dime on it. But that said, this is an Activision title after all. We all know just how money-driven the company is, and thus the game is riddled with microtransactions, ranging from the premium battle pass to the shop, which has countless camos and vehicle skins and character outfits, all for a certain amount of COD points, which actually hold less value than they do in the traditional games. It ends up costing more money for less COD points in this game, which kind of just goes to show how the monetary mindset that Activision has really is the driving force behind this game's additional content. You can watch ads in-game on the main menu in exchange for supply drops, you can buy just about anything you want from a customization standpoint, and in general, MTX are very, very prominent in this game. And honestly, I have no doubt in my mind that if a free Call of Duty game was released on the mainstream platforms, it too would be riddled with microtransactions and probably dabble in the realm of pay to win. Like in this game, you can literally buy weapon XP cards, so in theory you can level up your weapon faster by paying and gain a slight advantage over other players. So one very big string attached with COD Mobile is the MTX overload that would surely bleed into a similar game on console and PC. That said, one big plus of COD Mobile that I really hope transfers to future games like Modern Warfare and the 2020 Black Ops game is that of supply drop odds. I have no doubt that we'll see supply drops remain in Call of Duty for quite some time, but in COD Mobile, you can actually see the drop rate of each supply drop before you open it, which is kind of a small feature, but one that really goes a long way in the eyes of a consumer if you ask me. Now, they do this because they have to comply with the Apple and Google policies, and they wouldn't necessarily have to do the same thing on a console version of a similar game. But loot boxes are kind of in the hot seat right now, so hopefully this is a feature that we see extended to the main titles as well. Now, arguably the biggest attraction of COD Mobile is the fact that it is a mashup title. It contains elements from the Modern Warfare franchise and also the Black Ops franchise under one roof. So, for instance, you have a mix of maps from each series like Kill House, Crash, Raid, and Standoff. Looking at the Battle Royale mode in specific, you also have locations from each universe as well, as Standoff, Crash, Overgrown, Nuketown, Kill House, and Diner are a few of the locations that have origins in separate universes. This is something that has been discussed time and time again in Call of Duty. The whole idea of having one universal game under Call of Duty, created by all the developer studios together, is something that I think a lot of people would really like to see. But the possibility of it happening in the near future, I feel, is relatively slim. As of now, we know what's going on in the COD franchise up through the 2020 game, as obviously this year we have Infinity Ward making Modern Warfare, and for 2020, we have Treyarch leading the development on that Black Ops reboot, with Sledgehammer Games helping as a support team. But after that is when we see more of an opportunity for something like a Universal COD game to actually be released. Now, just to put it bluntly, Call of Duty is not going to last forever. If you ask me, as someone who has been a fan of the franchise for nearly half of my life at this point, it is on its slow descent out. Unless the franchise makes some major resurgence, I really don't see it ever returning to the quote-unquote golden days of, say, MW2, MW3, Black Ops 2, etc., etc. But if there was to ever be a final Call of Duty game, I could very well see it being this ultimate mashup game, if you will, where Infinity Ward helps develop it, Treyarch helps develop it, as does Sledgehammer and Raven and anyone else involved in the creation of the franchise today. And rather than planning on the next game dropping 1 year later, this is instead a game that receives continuous updates all throughout it for the extended future. And of course, in the theme of this essentially being the mainstream version of COD Mobile, I would love to see a product like this be a free-to-play title. Frankly, judging off of the success that COD Mobile has already seen in just the first few days of it being officially available worldwide, I think somewhere in those Activision offices, there's a conversation happening regarding the idea of making a similar title for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. I don't know, what do you guys think about this? Would you guys like to see the ultimate Call of Duty game come to the normal platforms? Let me know down in the comments below. Like I said, I feel like Call of Duty Mobile is kind of the COD game that we've all been asking for, just it's on mobile and not on console. With all of that being said though, that is effectively going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you are brand new here and you like what you see, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll be able to stay on top of everything going on in the world of Call of Duty. As always, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on all G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. All of those links can be found down in the description below. And once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.